say it like that.
Ever since I could remember, I pop in my collar, pop in my collar. Ever since I can remember, I've been working these holes, and they better put that money in my
All right.
hand. Well, when it comes to getting, I got to the bakery. You don't know
Boy
about
said,
that.
She just another hope that
That
I
I
met
met
in the hood. I told her I was
country
country
black
black and it was all good.
good.
Yeah, I like that.
I've been floating for days and I ain't even wake up yet. Can't remember last time I saw the sunset. Couple vibes, couple lives that we're living out. Sometimes you gotta blend before you standing out.
Live, 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 live. It's the O.
Hey.
It's the J. You did. I don't know why I just did that. That's not even me. Nah, it's raw.
Apparently it is.
It's raw OJ. We back for the 8th episode. Episode number 8. We in our prime Kobe right now.
The sign of infinity.
Yeah, but it's vertical.
But
It's vertical.
I was
My
going to say, but it's
phone.
flipped upside down.
Okay.
So what does that mean? What does the number 8 mean? Do you know that?
The number 8.
Yeah. I know 7 is like the number of completion. I feel like 8 means something.
Probably repetitive shit.
I don't know. Okay, we'll go on.
Because it's probably infinity, so it just goes on.
Maybe.
Carry on.
8 episodes. How do you feel about that? I'm very proud of you.
Are you asking me the question? I never get asked the questions.
I know. I'm sorry.
How do I feel?
Role reversal.
I like it. No, it's cool. Distinguished a little bit. Like,
That's a good one.
I'm happy. Like, I didn't think I can actually just go for 8 episodes. Like, and the fact that I'm doing it, it just feels indescribable. It gives me a jubilant, jovial feel.
Yes, adjectives.
Yeah,
Yes, grammar.
Drop them.
Yes.
Drop them. See, people don't know I got extensive vocabulary. I was in honors class in high school, but I had
Show
to,
them that diversity,
I had
honey.
to drop them bitches because I ain't like that shit. So, first of all, how does it feel to be back? Which is what your 5th episode?
Like I'm not even counting, so don't ask me. I don't even. I
No.
just.
I appreciate you. I really do.
Thank you.
I really do. And I gotta get Sully back in here.
Yeah, definitely. I need a shirt.
You feel me? You heard that?
But yeah, definitely. Sully
Yeah.
was dope.
I gotta get him back because I want to know if he watched When They See Us.
I would love to hear his
And
point
I
of
want
view.
to know what he thinks of it.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying? He's definitely a resource I will always use and reach out to because he's willing to, and he's also very, very friendly to the pod. So
Yeah.
appreciative. So did you watch When They See Us?
Yeah.
So
I
let's
did.
talk.
I mean,
I don't even
it
know
was
where to start.
hard. It was definitely. I didn't watch it straight through the first time, but when I finally did get through the first couple of minutes of turmoil, or the first couple minutes of me just like before I even seen anything that pissed me off, I was pissed off. So
Yeah.
it was just so hard to start watching it. It was crazy how I was just skipping over it for the first couple days. Like, I know I can't even watch this right now. And then when I finally did, I watched the whole thing straight through. And I never really felt like I was so emotionally connected to something to the point where it was like hard like that
It's
on me to
painful.
watch. Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. It wasn't paying for me to watch.
Like, it was just hard for me to see that.
Visual representation of what happened.
And then just to correlate it to our reality, it's just like,
So it's still going on today?
In my opinion, yes.
When I watched it, all right, so this is what happened. I went to my aunt's house and I took my son to jump on a trampoline or whatever at her house.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, "Oh, let's watch When They See Us." My daughter told me about it, which is my cousin. I'm like, "All right, we can check it out." So the first episode is just like captivated me, pulled me in, sucked me in.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh shit!" And then by that time it was getting late, so I had to take my son home. But like, I thought about it a lot. I know there was 3 more parts I had to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day or whatever, I did what I had to do, whatever I had to do that day, and then I set aside some time to watch the rest of them.
Yeah.
And me just tell you, was it Jerome, whatever his name is? Whoever he is.
Jerome.
That boy played the part.
Absolutely.
I swear. That boy was like
as the child and the adult. Like
he got me with his skills, because his ability to transcend and break that fourth wall, so to speak, and just really connect to the viewer as if you knew him personally.
To the point when he finally got air conditioning, I felt like the breeze with him.
It's crazy.
Like when he was in that cell, sweating to his, like with butt naked sweating. I felt that air come through that vent when he felt that air. Like I felt it.
And when he got that chia pet, I actually got happy, as if like I was like, yes, finally. Like damn.
Definitely.
Officer, like you my G, Roberts, yo. You the only person I had like the utmost respect for out of the whole penal system.
And I think it was Ava DuVernay did a great job depicting that film and placing the certain spotlights on certain things that she did like highlight, like that relationship between him and that guard. Like I'm sure that was really just as important for him as it was for us to see.
But I think it was more important for everybody to see that even though there's bad apples in the basket, every apple isn't bad.
Right.
Every apple.
He was almost the devil's advocate, doing the good.
Yeah, he was. He made a statement and it stuck with me. He was like, if somebody had did this to my child, I would like to know that somebody's in here treating him like a human being.
Right.
And that actually stuck with me, because like we don't treat people like human beings. Especially as a human race.
But want so much sympathy.
Exactly.
When we go through things, or just
we want to be treated like a human being, but we don't treat others. And I say that for every, not just black, not just white, not just Spanish, but every race in the United States. Because that's all I can really speak for. Because I can't speak for any other country. But in the United States, for the most part, I like to believe people are good inherently. I mean,
give them the Benny.
Not even. Hell no. I ain't say all that. Like you can't. You give somebody the benefit, they're gonna take advantage. But I like to think people are good, and I like to think people are, how do you say, have good intentions. But then you have those people who don't, and I also feel like that's always highlighted. You know
I would agree. I would definitely agree.
So, her highlighting Officer Roberts having a kind heart really, really moved me in a way. I can't say it like touched my heart, but like it's like, oh.
Every interaction they had was moving.
It was different.
It was different.
You wouldn't expect that.
No.
And
at all.
Even after he got into the fight, and he was
approached him like a father.
Yeah, it was more of like, come on, kid. Like, what are you doing?
Like, he really genuinely cared about him.
You got your parole board. Like, you got so much on the line here. Like, I want you to be better. I want you to do better. You know what I'm saying? I think that's also something that's just like, Ava did a very, very, very excellent job. I would say. But like getting to the meat and potatoes of it, I think that movie shed light on a lot of injustice going on in the penal system.
Yeah, me too.
Like things I never knew possibly occurred. I didn't know anything about the Central Park 5. I'm sorry I'm ignorant, but I didn't.
I don't think you're ignorant, because I only knew about it off of I would say hearing about it before years ago and asking my father about it. And he shared with me everything he knew about it. And he actually seen the PBS story that had came out years ago about it. So he always told me, like, you know, you better look into that too. Like when I asked him about it, and then when it came that this was coming out, he was just saying, like, you know, he referenced it again, and he was just like, listen, that story, you know, it's sad, but he wasn't like really, you know, it wasn't surprising to a lot of people.
I mean, I don't think it was meant to surprise you. I think it was more informative to bring awareness.
Definitely.
And the fact that you could take something from 20 years ago and place it in today, and it be so relevant.
Right.
You took the word right out of my mouth before I even said it. So relevant. I think that's that's also something that's groundbreaking, because even though we have cameras, even though we have surveillance all day, all night, I don't think much has changed. I mean, you see people getting killed on camera, and I hate to bring it up, but it is what it is. People are getting murdered on camera,
and there's still rhyme and reason to justify why it's okay.
A guy got shot 55 times. 55 times. And the court system saw it as justified. I don't even know how to even explain to somebody being a military vet and being familiar with guns and weapons. That's excessive force in the most excessive manner.
Right, so blatantly excessive. 55 of anything isn't a little bit.
You got 55 M&Ms.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
55 of anything is just not a little bit.
So 55 shots fired into someone. And then there was another guy who got 37 shots, and he was asleep. They said he reached for his gun, but we really don't know if he reached for the gun. That's the story they told.
And that's a lot of people's story, that they reached.
Reached for what? A lot of them want.
Because that's their real story. They reached, if they even really did reach for anything, they just reached. Not to say for a gun, but a lot of people reached.
But I feel like it's so easy, because like now it's the game they play. They give you an order, and then they give you a contradicting order.
Like, reach for this. Or get this, and then you have to reach for it.
You gotta reach for it once you reach for it. Or he's reaching for a gun. Pop. You know what I'm saying? It's like the way they do it. It's like it's almost as if they're trained to do it that way. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna say they are. I'm not gonna say they aren't, because I don't know. But in my mind, it's like, to me, it's almost as if they're trained to say that. Like, oh, he or she. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I feel like the justice system is very lopsided. Like, it's a guy serving, I think, like 20-something years. Don't quote me on this, but he's serving a lot of time. He's still in jail. And I just read a story literally today about a guy who he raped an 11-year-old girl.
Oh my gosh.
Gave her an STD, and they gave him probation.
Oh my goodness.
Probation. Now, it's a man in jail for using a Schedule 1. Marijuana is not really a Schedule 1 drug, but a Schedule 1. He was arrested, I believe, for distributing or intent to distribute, and he's doing concrete time. And a guy gave an 11-year-old, after raping her brutally, an STD, and they gave him probation. What's his name? Brock Turner, another guy. Mm-hmm. He raped an unconscious girl, had witnesses, and
it was like behind a trash can. She was drunk,
unconscious.
Right.
He rapes her, and he gets 3 months of slap.
3
on
months
the wrist?
of like, not even jail time though. It was like community service or something. Like stupid.
And he gets to live his life regularly.
Doesn't even have to register as a sex offender, I don't think.
A bus driver. He got off because he raped a 14-year-old, but the judge took it easy on him because it was his first rape. Things like this show you how lopsided. And these are just like, these aren't anomalies. These are just what reaches the surface.
Right.
Because imagine what's going on underwater. How many guys get pulled in and then slapped on the wrist and sent home? Whereas, you know what? I'm sorry to bring Kanye into this conversation.
Why?
Because he doesn't really fit the mold.
Okay.
He kind of does, but he doesn't. Because of where I'm heading with this. But he had a song, and he said, Jerome get more time than Brandon. Like, as subtle as that line was in the song, is so groundbreaking and so prevalent in today. And like we just talked about, like, Jerome get more time than Brandon. Like, to me, it's
factual information. And that's why when you have these kind of conversations about prison injustice or criminal, the criminal system or judiciary system injustice, like, you just got to go to the facts. Like, that's why I'm not even going to dispute many people when it comes to race and injustice in the criminal justice system, because the facts are there.
Right.
We as black people are at astronomical rates getting arrested, getting prosecuted, being sentenced for crazy amounts of time in comparison to our white counterparts. Like, crazy amount of time. Substantial amount more of us are even sitting in jail for whatever the reasons may be, dead, die in jail, or at home on the streets on the bracelet on a monitored system. Like,
the system, no less.
Jail has evolved so much that you can be on the street and still be in jail. So it's not even just about the people that are locked up behind these prison walls.
What got to me was when they were talking to Raymond after he was released.
Yeah.
And they were explaining everything he had to do that was contingent with his release, and if he didn't, he'd be going back to jail
for all of these years, for the rest of his life.
Yeah, they're like, you gotta check in with us once every 90 days. You gotta do this, you gotta do that. And I'm thinking like, oh, you gotta register as a sex offender, you gotta do this and that and the third. And I'm sitting there like, are you serious?
You gotta check in once a month or once a week, whatever it was, forever.
Yeah, for the rest of your life. Like, and if you leave without letting us know, like, it's just so much. So, like, my question to you is, how do you fix the jail system? How do you fix that lopsided system?
I think with any organization, it just always starts from within. Right. So it's just like the organizers, like the people who are in charge of making the most essential decisions. They are the people responsible. Right now, at least, they aren't responsible for where it is right now, but they do have, I think, a lot of say-so in where things are right now. Like, leading up to it, maybe not, but they're there now, and they're the movers and the shakers. So if they're going to either comply and keep with the agenda, or they're going to try things different. And I think we need some brave people to speak up, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I feel like
I don't think that's going to
happen.
Very
few allies. 1, 2. I feel like the court system itself is flawed before you even get to jail. Like, I'm going to refer back to When They See Us, because that was like a very vivid illustration. When she said every young black male in the park that night was a suspect, they already eliminated the true offender.
Right. By just saying every black male.
One statement. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, and it was like several statements like that stuck out to me. When she said that, when she said, what she say? These animals, like, she never even looked at them as humans to begin with. So they never had a fighting chance to start with.
She never looked at them as humans, as children.
So to translate that into real life, when you get judges, you get these district attorneys that just want to get a win. It doesn't matter who takes the fall.
Or what.
You know what I'm saying? I look at this, and I hate the WP, the white privilege. But it's true. It's a very true statement. I mean,
white people can't even dispute that. Like, you can't.
They don't believe it.
They don't. But it's like, yo.
And I'm like, it's so blatant.
You gotta be so ignorant to just sit here and tell me that you don't believe. Even if you can't sit here and say, well, I don't think I'm a privileged white person, but you still have to acknowledge there's privileged white people because they're white.
As a poor white person, you're more privileged than almost a wealthy black man.
Right.
Or a wealthy black woman.
Definitely.
And I don't say that in a malicious way. I don't say that in a way to be rude. However, look at the facts. I don't care how much money you got. When that cop gets behind you, your stomach sinks. You could be doing nothing wrong. Everything could be in line. Your stomach sinks. And you just like, please don't turn these lights on. Please don't turn these lights on. You know what I'm saying? You straighten up. Like, you never see people get more postured than when the cop gets behind them. Like, how often have you been riding with someone, the cop gets behind them? As if the cops in the back seat, they turn the music down, they sit up straight. You won't even look at the people in the car because a police officer is behind you. How often does that happen?
Almost every time.
Like,
and you know what I've always wondered too? I just feel like the police are supposed to be this figure of help and stuff like that. I never really believed that. But how can anyone think that that's really what they are now when they're at the point where they're even making cars that are disguised and all that stuff? I mean, if I need help, how I'm supposed to find you?
Exactly.
Like, I can't even see you unless the reflective light is on your car.
The police is not. They're not.
Like, y'all aren't here to help.
They're not there to de-escalate. I've learned that. There's very few instances where
they come in.
They come in and de-escalate the situation.
Very few.
If anything, they aggravate the situation. And as someone who owns things, I don't hate the police. Like, people hate the police. I can't hate the police because if somebody steal my shit, I'm going to call the police.
And file a police report.
Exactly. Like, something happens, I'm calling the police. I'm getting in touch with whomever, the law, and I need to find how. But on the other side of that coin, I'm very frustrated with the police. Let's be real. Like, the video I just seen, like, it's so many. It's a shame that I can pull so many examples
out the archives.
Like, just off the top of my head, like that young couple whose child happened to take a Barbie at the store, who the store didn't even call. That's what trips me out. The store didn't even call.
Who called?
It was a bystander.
Really? I never knew that.
I read the article. It was a bystander. The store never called. The store didn't even know. A bystander called, and who knows what they said on the phone.
And caused all that turmoil.
Why I blame the police, but I don't blame the police because I now blame them fully. But I don't. It's a little asterisk beside it because who knows what the person who called them actually said to them that provoked the police to react, because they never even asked questions. They got out ready to go to war. As a police officer, I feel like you should be more trained. You should be more tactful.
And you definitely shouldn't approach a situation that even could slightly be a situation that could be slightly hostile. You should never approach it with hostility. Like, that was never about to. If that was an actual situation where maybe they had a gun or somebody was like, oh, there's a couple with a gun and they're stealing stuff. Even if that was the call, I just feel like that first cop's demeanor and the tone in his voice was like sending chills through my body.
He didn't speak to them as human beings, as we touched on at the beginning.
No, that's the thing. They talk to animals better than that.
They treat animals better than that.
Right.
And when I say they, I mean white people. I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat. That's how I feel.
Y'all know.
Like, they treat animals, and when I say white people, I'm not speaking every white person. I'm talking about the white people that's in power.
And we're not talking about every cop.
Yeah,
that's the
in
reality.
Power and then who fit the mold or fit the description, which they use on us so well. That fit the description. You know what I'm saying? And for people of privilege that can't see it, they like to use the term. Well, this is what, because I listen to a lot of podcasts. And I'm open minded when I go and listen to these things, because I listen to a lot of stuff like black people hearing, but what the fuck, I'm turning this off. But I listen because I want to know why you think the way you think. And in their mind, a police officer puts his hand on his holster when he approaches the car because he doesn't know if it's his last time approaching a car. He might get shot. He might be in danger. He don't know who's behind the window of the car he's stopping. However, it's a different response when they stop other people.
And that's just really what the issue is. The consistency isn't there.
And you can say that, okay, but why does he have his gun on when he approaches Tabitha, as opposed when he approaches, I don't know, Jerome? What's the difference? Or we want to say a female. Okay, when he approaches Heather, and he approaches
Mike.
What's the female name?
Oh, another female name.
Yeah,
Sam.
A black female name.
Shaniqua.
Okay, yeah, I didn't want to. I'd rather you say it. Nah, but Shaniqua and Sam, when he approaches them, why does he have his hand on his holster ready for Shaniqua as opposed to Sam?
Hostility,
In fact,
man.
it's funny because I was at work yesterday, and it just happened to me, and I wanted to go deeper and just tell this man the real reason why he was stopped. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let you live in your delusion world. Because number one, I'm not getting into it at work with you.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, this ain't the place nor the time to go there. But this is what he told me. He said he was driving, and he was driving on some road in New Jersey, and he had his hood on because it was cold. It was like early in the morning. It was like 60 degrees. He had his hood on because it was cold. He's a bigger guy. He's like
he just probably hopped in the car with his hood on.
6'6". He said he had his hood on. He had tightened it. And he said he stopped at a stop sign. He seen the cop pull out. And he goes through the stop sign because the cop had stopped at the stop sign. So he goes through as the cop's coming up. The cop turns the corner, pulls him over. So he says, cop comes to the car with his hand on his holster and looks. And once he realizes it's a white guy, he said, once he realized I wasn't a threat. I was like, you know how coded your language is right now? You don't even understand how coded your language is, but
desensitized.
Yeah, he said once he realized I wasn't a threat, he took his hand off his holster, and I asked him why he stopped me. And he said the cop struggled for a second, but then the cop was like, "Oh, you ran a stop sign." And he was like, "I didn't run a stop sign because I saw you pull out. I saw you turn the corner, and when you were pulling out, I was at a stop sign watching you. There's no way I ran the stop sign." So he says, the cop was like, "Well, you just look like somebody I knew, and I thought you were somebody else, and your parents threw me off." What do you mean your parents threw me off? Why are you judging somebody on their parents? You should be judging how they drive.
Exactly.
Or if their registration
Since you're pulling me
suspended.
over for a driving infraction.
Was his registration suspended? Was his license suspended? Was his tail light out? Like, give me a reason why you stopped me. So he said the cop goes to the car, and they kind of had words in a way, which I can't even imagine having words with a police officer before the situation got aggressive. But he didn't really go into it. And he's telling the story, and my mind is churning like a watch. I'm looking like, are you serious? Like, this is the exact situation.
Like, you really convinced yourself that this scenario
was a secular, had nothing to do. So then he said he comes back, and he said he gives him a ticket because his license plate light was out. He says a $60 ticket. I'm looking like, yeah, he gave you a ticket because he thought you was black. And once he realized you wasn't black and you gave him backlash,
he
said,
had to come up with something.
Yeah, he couldn't just walk away with nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like they look for ways to just like look over it in a way. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that argument that police officers have a hard job, like, you know the job you going into before you get the job. Like, if I'm a football player,
let's just stop right there, because whoever's on fries right now at the McDonald's at the Walk in Atlantic City, you got a hard job. That drive-through stay booming, and I don't see people rushing to apply. So everybody's job in some way can be defined as hard.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, when you go out your way to apply for a job,
you know what
you know the risks because you want the rewards. Whether it may be being able to run red lights, being able to use your authority
to be above the law.
Simply
put, like, it's not even like, I don't care what you say, a police officer is above the law. They may say they're not. They may say they abide by the law, but when you bust a U-turn going 65 and a 35 to pull somebody over for tinted windows, what does that make you? Above the law. And I feel like when you're in that position, when you take that job, if you're a football player, you know you're going to get hit. What do? You prepare. You work out. You make sure your body's strong. You make sure when you get hit, it's not as a brutal hit because your body's trained. Understand? When you're in the military, what do? So I feel like the military even has stricter rules in war than police officers have, period. Geneva Law of Conventions states you can't shoot somebody unless they're an immediate threat, which means the rifle or the weapon they have must be pointed at you, and you must know for a fact that
they're about to shoot you.
Yeah. Other than that, if they have a rifle in their hand, you can't shoot them. So why don't police follow that same protocol?
Exactly.
Like, if you're a police officer, you shoot unarmed men. If you do that over in Iraq, you shoot an unarmed man, you're going to jail. It's no ifs.
As a member of our military, if you shoot someone in a
foreign country,
in a war zone, that's unarmed, or that's even armed, that's
but
not
doesn't have a weapon
threatening you.
Exactly. If he's walking on the side of a weapon with an AK-47, you know what I'm saying?
You can't just pick
him
off.
Y'all riding past him. He looks up at you, and he says, "Fuck you," but he doesn't point his gun at you, you can't shoot that man.
And as a human being, sitting here as someone who's not in law enforcement or in the military, I think that's perfectly logical. Because why else would you? What do you need to kill him for?
Exactly.
He's not trying to kill you. He's not around you killing anyone else. What reason do you need to kill him for? You got a gun. He got a gun. In my book, y'all even.
In my eyes, I want to know why the police aren't held to the same standard.
That's a great question.
As our military is held
and I
to.
think that question has if it hasn't been asked before, then I don't know why, because that is a great question.
I've always wondered this: why are our military held to a higher standard, and we're in much more stressful situations?
Mm-hmm.
They are. I'm not in it, but they are in much more stressful situation. When you go overseas, you're going to a zone where you can die at any second. As a police officer, you can probably die, but
let's just go ahead and also
the
add to the fact.
probability is very low.
But they're also in their own backyards. You're going to a foreign country that doesn't even look like your country.
Exactly.
Most of these police officers are in towns that they've lived in their whole lives. They know the insides and outs of. They know all the authoritative figures in the town.
Mm-hmm. They're in a place of privilege.
They're in a place of privilege. They're in a place that's always going to defend them and their actions.
That's going to stand behind them and you go overseas and you kill somebody that's unarmed, that's not even facing you, you're going to jail. There's no if, there's no ands, there's no buts. Yeah, everybody's story, as an investigation is going to be done, and if y'all stories don't even match up at all, okay, you lied, you're going to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Period. It's a standard. Like Geneva Law of Conventions. You cannot be out here just killing people. And I'm sorry to say, that's the law. So why aren't people who... If people in... I don't buy that, oh, we feel like we're at a war zone. You're dealing with Americans. You know what I'm saying? You're not dealing with people who do parkour and sandals that can shoot you.
Right.
From XYZ. You're not dealing with a crazed individual from overseas. You're dealing with like Americans
with no motive to really want to harm you.
Most likely,
really.
If you're doing a law of averages, what is the law of averages that you would get harmed in a war zone versus the law of averages that you would get harmed in the city?
Right.
It has to be astronomical. So why aren't those police held to the same standard? It doesn't make sense to me. If they can go out and you're not telling me they don't have restraint. You're not telling me they were scared for their lives. When you have these mass murderers, you have these school killers, you have all these people being apprehended peacefully. But you have people out here selling cigarettes. You have people out here that's unarmed. People out here that had a hoodie on. People out here that's playing in that backyard being shot.
Mm-hmm. And I think also the fact that the officers, like we mentioned, they're just never ever punished. It's like we see them get off to the point where it's like nobody's even keeping up with the trials because we know what the end result usually is going to be.
Exactly.
And it's very unfortunate that we don't get any justice for those people's families.
If you look at it statistically, I believe police have killed more people in the United States than any other group of people. I'm gonna repeat that. Police have killed more people in the United States than any other group of people. And you know what else I blame, though? For this white privilege, for this? I blame the media. They perpetuate a story.
Their
they push
influence is just ridiculous.
You know what I'm saying?
They have a lot of influence on the population.
People are uninformed and people don't want to be informed.
And people are misinformed.
Ooh, I like that even
because
better.
A lot of people think that they know or what they know is and it isn't.
Exactly. And I hate that people I hate how people can get offended. People of privilege get offended when you say something from your experience and they disagree with it. Oh, that's not how it is. It's not like that. No, that's not how it is for you.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's exactly like that.
And it's like I remember when we were talking about the conversation I had with my friend that day in the car, and he was saying that most people he knows are from, or a lot of people he knows are products of plant pregnancies.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, we spoke about that.
And when I said, I started the conversation by letting him know, like, well, all I could do is go off my experience, why my opinion is this way.
Right.
And he immediately felt the need to jump in. And your first question, or like the first comment we made about him afterwards, was like, well, with his upbringing, coming from a predominantly white area, a suburban area, an area where it's like a cookie cutter neighborhood, everyone has a house, a driveway, a garage, that setup. It's like, of course that's going to be your outlook, and of course you're offended by mine.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe if you're not offended, of course you are still objective and slightly defensive.
Yeah.
With your outlook on your experiences and mine. And I feel like, how can anyone dispute with you your experience? Once you feel the need to discredit my experience, that's privilege in itself.
Exactly.
I'm just talking about me. You feel the need to come in and not only discredit my story, but talk about yours and why your story discredits my story.
Exactly.
Why do you even feel like you have the right? You don't.
I don't get it, because like, it should never be that way.
No.
I feel like you should be able to share your experiences and look at the difference and be like, all right, why is my experience so different, as opposed to defend, as opposed to push back. It's like, it's so much going on here in this country today. And when we talk about the court system, we talk about the legal system, there's no like equality. There's no privilege for my side of the fence. None.
Yeah.
None. And then like, when we talk about it, it's, oh, you shouldn't think that way. You should be like, the story, how quickly the story changes when it's them versus us. When they do something and it's talked about in the news and it's brought up and they're like, oh, you should be forgiving. Why are you looking at it like that?
They have this whole attitude like you should just get over it. It's not even like they even kind of are nice about it. It's flat out just like you should just get over it.
But
it's been so long, but it hasn't.
So y'all look at
it. Hasn't. Because if you have a grandma right now, she was alive when she probably wasn't even able, like when her grandmother wasn't even able to vote for being a woman, let alone being black.
Drink out of the same water fountain.
Okay.
Hey, so it wasn't that long ago.
It was not.
1, 2, I can't just forget, because y'all don't just forget. Because I remember the slogan for 9/11 was always remember.
One thing I won't forget is a statistic I just recently I heard, and it didn't surprise me at all, but when I really thought about it, like put it on a pie, like made a pie chart in my head and broke it down, I was just like, damn. And basically the stat is that black families hold 1/10 is 10%. Black families hold 1/10 of the percent of wealth as white families. 1/10. So we have 10 cents to their $1.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised by that. But when
is that histogram that was online, and they had like the Asians, and they had like the Indian Americans, the Jewish, the whites, and the black was like way at the bottom? Is that the histogram?
I did see that, but no, it was actually a video of. Actually, I seen this stat today because, I don't know if you've seen, but a lot of influential figures went in front of Congress today in arguments over reparations.
Right.
So, it actually was in one of the recaps or briefings of that whole discussion. And there was a lot of facts that were spewed out by the gentleman on the panel that put into a flat out perspective the injustices of black people versus white, and how they've benefited
off our back,
greatly off of our backs, and how much we have suffered and sacrificed for them to thrive. And it's not willingly.
No,
it's not willingly.
Why would it be?
It's not. And I feel like they, over time, have pushed the narrative, they as in white people, push this narrative that, oh, well,
we're not responsible,
you can just work hard. Yeah. Like,
we're not responsible for our father's sins.
Yeah. And
but
it's
you
like,
benefited from it.
It's not like that anymore. So you guys can just do better. You can just work hard. You can just do this. You can have these things.
Pull
and
yourself
it's like,
up by your bootstraps. But
you didn't have to work hard.
But you can't.
You didn't. So why are you telling me to?
It doesn't work like that, because like when you go from the very tippy top into the bottom, when you look at where people start off, you can say you pull yourself up from the bootstrap, but only few make it through that glass ceiling that y'all put over top of us. I mean, I'm gonna go off the city alone. You go to public schools, and you go to private schools in this area. I should say. It's a whole different education. It's a whole different pool that colleges are picking from. You know what I'm saying? They do their due diligence, but they don't really want to pick from the public schools. They want them private school students, you know, who've been sheltered. Who's the majority of the private school student? Who's the majority of the public school
And
students?
also, what are those private school students fortunate enough to have usually to even be in that school?
Exactly.
They're paying tuitions before they even get into college. They're familiar with that system.
Exactly. So you start from the beginning, and then you would say somebody pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I have to work 10 times as hard to get one of what you have.
To even get a look or a glance. And I think a lot of people also discredit the fact that a lot of different industries in our country are built off of who you know.
Yeah.
You go through a lot of things now, or you deal with different companies for different reasons, and you be like, yo, I could do this person's job better than them. What the hell? Come to find out, he know that. He know he not qualified.
Yeah.
He only got the job because his uncle was cool with his boss, and
It's
it's
a
like,
successor. You want your successor to look like you.
mm-hmm.
And
it kills
it comes
them
down.
to take direction or to even work amongst equally people who aren't like them.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not something new. I mean,
Hate to see it.
people, and when you look at the judicial system, when you look at the penal system, when you look at corporate America, when you look at positions of power, even managers at the local Dunkin' Donuts, majority of the time, the cream of the crop, the top of the top, are filled with the like faces.
Mm-hmm.
You sprinkle a little pepper amongst the salt, but salt still outweighs. You know what I'm saying? And when I say that, I'm not saying it in a mean way, but it is what it is.
I mean, look at Atlantic City, right?
Look at the judges. I mean, matter of fact, look at a simple business as the casinos.
I was going to say, look at the casinos, because that's all I can speak about when it comes
At the
to
casinos,
managerial injustice.
all the labor positions are filled with minorities.
You get to the
And when I say minority, I mean black. And then you go to supervisor position, it gets a little diverse. You got a couple Spanish, you got a couple black, you got
maybe
a couple
some
white,
Asians.
maybe some Asians. No, they're not in the supervisor position. You go to managers, then you got the Asians sprinkled in somewhere in the managers, and then you got like mostly white people, and then you go to like directors, executives, and so on, CEO and higher. You'd be hard pressed to find somebody who looks like us.
Well, listen to
Hard
this, right?
pressed.
So I got the
I don't think that's by design. I mean, I don't think that's not by design.
oh, it's systematically designed.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of working at Brigado while they transitioned to MGM, right?
Mm-hmm.
With that transition, we ended up getting a new president.
Mm-hmm.
And that might have happened with or without the transition, but the president we got was black, right? A black man.
Oh.
So, because no executive in the building was of anything but the white race,
Yeah.
that was the only reason why I feel like there was so much premeditated controversy before he walked in the door.
Yeah.
Like there was so much
Angst.
doubt. I'm gonna straight up say doubt, because it was like, if he would have looked like our last president, would there maybe been more excitement or willingness to be open?
Yeah.
Why was there so much like doubt? And then also my colleagues, two middle-aged white women, also were way more timid
Yeah.
about his presence and made it seem like him being around, and he was shorter than all three of us, little man, but they made it seem like him being around was just so
Right.
intimidating. And I was just so observant in that time, more than I was vocal,
Yeah.
at the shift of how everyone became. And I felt like when things happened, it immediately became like, we should write the president. So now let's burden him, right? Let's
Yeah.
burden the black man, so that when everything fails, what can we do? Say it's his
Oh, we
fault.
wrote him, so.
So Brigada is doing the worst that they've ever done before in some areas since the transition to MGM, because they had to change player system, stuff like that, whatever. And who's looking like the bad guy?
Yeah, it's the fall guy.
The black guy.
Yeah, but a lot of times that happens.
A lot of times it
I
happens.
mean, it happened in the country.
A lot with Barack Obama.
I'm not a Barack Obama fan.
I'm not either.
By far.
I'm not either.
He's a scapegoat.
But I think he's a scapegoat, and I think honestly, the country overall is pretty blind to a lot of our issues. We have to admit that.
But I feel like even if you bring the issues up, if you bring up the judiciary, you bring up the corporate, you bring up whatever issues you bring up, and you try to even talk about, they look at you as, oh, you're racist. Oh, you're just
like as a black person.
You're just saying that because blah blah blah. But no, look at the fact. And no, I feel like they don't ever want to look at the facts. They never want to look at their surroundings because you're benefiting from these surroundings.
And what does it hurt you to say you are?
Like,
what does it hurt to say you are?
Because they say they are, then they're responsible.
Yeah.
If you say you're responsible, like
you contribute almost.
Because I guarantee you, ask any white person if they would like to be black for a week. I guarantee you, all of them will say no.
Speaking of that, I seen an article on CNN, and the title was "What It's Like Being a White Woman Named Lakeisha." And honestly, I seen it retweeted on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I follow CNN, but what I did was I went onto the retweet that I seen and looked at those comments.
Yeah.
And the amount of white women trying to dispute the black women for their outlooks on the white woman's point of view was just like, listen, it's cool that you think you're trying to be observant and also trying to acknowledge there's a difference. But with that acknowledgement of the difference, don't feel like you're really helping by just shedding a 2-minute article spotlight on the fact that black people are out there getting shortchanged for things like their name
every day.
Like, okay,
well, it made your hair almost illegal at one point,
right? Like, okay, your name's Lakeisha, and she even mentioned in the article that she feels like she, or she knows for a fact she didn't get a certain job opportunity because of a name. Mm-hmm. And you hear that story a lot, being black with certain names or whatever, or when you actually do finally meet someone in person and they see you're black. My name's Olivia.
My name is Joseph.
Okay.
What's
so
enough?
If you see me, you might be slightly taken back that I'm black.
Yeah.
So I think that article was important, but for me to read those comments and see black people respond by letting them know, like, listen, okay, don't think for a second because you took 3 minutes to try to live in my world that you even know what it's like.
That you even understand.
You don't.
My whole thing is,
you don't.
And I'm trying to say this in the most non-disrespectful, not rude.
Some things just be what it is.
The country has been, there's no nice way to say this.
I don't think you should try to sugarcoat it. You're not that type of guy.
I'm not. But I'm trying to say it in an educated way where I don't offend white women.
Okay.
But it is what it is.
White women are very easily offended, so just give the disclaimer that if you're white and you're a woman, you may be easily offended by this next statement.
The country has been divided on the premise of a white woman. And when I say this, a lot of laws are made based on how white women feel. A lot of laws are made based on the ability to have access to a white woman, more or less, or a white woman's lies, or a white woman quietly hold a position of power that no one talks about because they feel, oh, they're a woman and Me Too and blah blah blah. And I'm not kicking the Me Too movement. Do not misunderstand me, but I feel like the white feminist is different from the black feminist.
Absolutely.
I feel like the white activist woman are different from the black activist woman. I feel like, and I don't have any problem with white women. You know what I'm saying? That they're phenomenal people. Most of them, a lot of them. I won't say most of them. I don't know most of them. a lot of people I meet aren't. Yeah. But a lot of white women, like, if you think about it, and I'm gonna give you a few examples to clarify the statement I just made, because even though it was sporadic, it was scattered brain. Emmett Till.
That's the first person I thought about, though, and I think that's the first person a lot of people would think about as soon as you made the statement that basically the country's been built off of their emotions.
Yeah.
Because I think his story is what just
It's
straight,
the first noted.
it catapulted the whole hate-filled, experience that black men had to endure,
Well,
even being in a room with a white woman.
Even before that, when white women used to go sleep with the black slaves and come back with a black child.
Right.
Oh, shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or force black men to sleep with them and come back with a white child. I mean, if you can go, every time you turn around, how many videos do you see of a white woman being offended and calling the police just because she was offended and she felt like she was wrong?
How many encounters have I had as a black woman with white women that got easily offended?
Exactly. Oh, I'm going to call your manager. I'm going to write a letter.
Oh, when this white lady told me when I refused to give her my name, and she assumed my name was either, first her name she gave me was Reva, and I don't even think that was like deliberately black in any way. But then she gave me Shaniqua.
But I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. So
it's just like, oh.
A lot, it's been built off their feelings. And there's a lot of things. Like, did you know the reason why marijuana is illegal, or was illegal, or is illegal federally?
Well, I do know when they started the war on drugs, especially.
But way before that. So back in like the late, I want to say like the 20s, 30s, or 40s, around that time.
I feel like it was the 30s.
Around that time, marijuana was legal.
Mm-hmm.
And it was no problem. They made marijuana illegal because they felt like the indulgence of marijuana made white women want to sleep with black men.
Now, I've heard that before.
That's why they made, and I've read the articles, and I wish I could pull them up and tell you verbatim what it says. But that's literally why marijuana was legal.
Now, with that, though, and what they did was mask it with the war on drugs. That's why I brought that up, because I feel like at the end of the day, that was the easiest way to punish who they wanted to be punished by that, which was black people.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I do think that, like, I don't get offended when I see interracial couples that
I don't.
are, out in the street or something like that. Like, I don't get offended by it, but I do get offended when I see, like, athletes with white women more than I would, like, just a regular interracial couple. And I'll tell you why. Because I feel like, and this is only off my experience, but I do feel like white women especially won't accept our men for just off the strength of who they are.
Right.
Without all of the things they can offer and security they can provide.
And things they can do. Right.
Now, I think as black women, because our men have been so battered and beaten over the years, we're completely on the opposite side of the spectrum. We are, I think, way more accustomed to accepting you how you are.
Right.
And building you up, too. And riding out the whole cycle of getting you to a place that's best for you.
Right.
We're here for the evolution of you to be a better person. And I feel like white women are gifted enough to usually come into a situation.
I'm going to give you something. And Cariana actually said this to me. And I never looked at it that way until she said it. And it kind of changed my whole view. Love who you love. Period.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you like. That's what you like. That's what you dislike. That's what you dislike. I'm not judging you. Do what you want. What she told me was she feels like it's not just white women, it's Latina women. It's
I feel like that
some
about
Asian
Latina women too.
But she said
and Asian
but she said she said they don't really like black men. They fetishize them.
Mm-hmm.
They want a mixed child.
Mm-hmm.
They want them black features, but they want them blue eyes and that nice hair.
Mm-hmm.
Want a child that's naturally
with big lips.
tan. Yeah, and like has black features. You know what I'm saying? But they don't account for it. The child can come out with coarse hair and dark skin and brown eyes. They don't account for that. But they feel like, oh, if I take this swing at it, my kid come out full bodied and all that, and I have a beautiful child, and this is what I created. But you're not really liking the black man. And when she said that, I was taken back. But at the same time, I couldn't disagree with her.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, I'm not gonna
completely agree with her, like 1,000%. I've had that conversation with other women.
Yeah,
definitely. I've never had the conversation with a man, but definitely had it with other women.
She said, if fetishize and me, I've always, if I like you, I like it, but I don't. I've never been like, oh, And at first I didn't care, but now I specifically take offense to people who date outside their race and then proceed to bash
Their race.
Like,
I don't like that.
Okay, let's.
But I don't feel like nobody really does that except for black people.
I feel like, okay, if you're gonna date outside your race, do you? I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
But don't kick in the woman of your race. Don't kick in the men of your race.
You don't see white men doing that or white women.
They probably do it in the shadows.
In the shadows, but that's what we gotta stop doing. Doing it out loud.
My whole thing is, if that's not what you like, that's not what you like. But for you to turn around and say it out loud and then continue to like to tell your reasons why you don't, that's nobody's business but yours.
Nobody even cares though, because that's still your decision.
Yeah, I feel like I take offense to it when you do shit like that, because what are you telling your mother? What are you telling your sisters if you have them? What are you telling your brothers if you have them? What are you telling your soon to be daughter or son that it's okay? Because that's still gonna come out black.
Right.
So if you say I don't like black women because this and that and the third, then you have a daughter or 2 daughters or 3 daughters.
She's still gonna be a black woman.
Now you don't like black women? Like how do you go back and defend those? And that's why I really vehemently like when I see shit like that, it makes me like irritated. Like, yo, that's not even like the wave. Like nothing about what you doing right now is.
It just comes from a place that's like brainwashed. Like you're completely brainwashed to me if that's how you go about, like if that's how you behave because of your experiences.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you are what you attract. I mean, you attract what you are, or something like that. If that's what if you're attracting a woman who's hostile, if you're attracting a woman, or you're accepting, I should say, or you're tolerating a woman that's hostile, or you're tolerating a woman who's raunchy, then that's on you. That's not on the race or the type of woman that you're putting down, because all type of women that you're putting on are like that. I've had pleasant experiences. You know what I'm saying? I've had my share of bad experiences, but I've had pleasant experiences with women of color of my race. You know what I'm saying? And I can only say that. I mean, I've predominantly dated black women. I mean, I've had my share, but I mean.
Yeah, I think I've only dated black men, and I've made plenty of statements before that I think I'll only date black men, and I sit here now thinking about that because it wasn't ever to. Everybody's entitled to have a preference,
right?
So I am entitled to make these statements regardless, but I just always felt that being black is such a large part of my life. I need somebody who really gets that.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a large part of my life, and it's only becoming a larger part of my life.
I want somebody who identifies with me.
I need somebody who understands that without me having to explain it to them, without me trying to, like, you know.
Feel uncomfortable.
Right. Or, like, beat it in their head. Like, you got to do this with me because, you know, this is, you know, like, I just always felt more easily attracted to
somebody who knows. Somebody
who understands.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, to me, I've always felt like to be with somebody, you have to understand them.
I couldn't be with someone of another race, and like walk into their home, and this could happen to me if I walked into like a black home and not feel the energy reciprocated. I'm going to come in there loving and open and willing to, you know, engage. Right. I just feel like if that happened to me, and in another race, like, or a different type of culture's home, I wouldn't know how to respond. Yeah. But because I know how to deal with my people just a little bit better, if that happened to me, even with them, I feel like I'll still be able to comfortably adapt and maneuver.
I feel like
without so much doubt.
I feel like it's more of a black thing than anything, because I feel like when you see another black person and you're in an environment, y'all already say, "What's up? How you doing?"
Like in a white space.
You already connect. You don't have to know this person from a can of paint. You don't know their upbringing, anything, but you already connected with them. Mm-hmm. Even in the situation where you're walking like anywhere, like you could be somewhere. And, like,
one of my favorite YouTubers was in Tokyo, right? She's walking down the street. A black guy walks by and he just spoke to her and her boyfriend. And her boyfriend's like, "What's up? How you doing, bro?" She was like, "You know him?" He was like, "No." And the guy just turned back around. He's like, "No, I don't know you guys, but you're black. I'm black," and just walked off.
Yeah, but I can identify with that. Right. Like, I've been plenty of places, and I was at the Stockton Gala, and I'm in a room, And it's like the pre-gala where they're like having cocktail hour
Yeah.
and all that. And it was just me. I was sitting there, and I was like the only black person in the room, and I spotted across from an older black man. So I moseyed my ass over there, and we talked like we knew each other for years. And somebody's like, "Oh, do you know him?" I'm looking like, "Nah, I just met him like 10 minutes ago." Like, you just met him 10 minutes ago?
And they weren't even able to identify how you all were so easily able to connect.
I think, like I said, that's why I think it's just a black thing, because it's an inherited struggle.
And it's weird because it's two sides to that, because a lot of the time you hear that argument where it's like, black people need to embrace each other more.
Yeah.
Like black strangers. When you're out and about, there's sometimes more mean mugging than there is acceptance. So I wish
think
that
that's only in certain settings.
definitely only in certain settings or with certain types of people.
But you know what's funny?
But
So I was watching this comedian. His name is Tom Segura. He's like a Hispanic and white male. So he's funny as hell. So he says, and it's funny that we don't think it, but we do it, and we do it unconsciously.
yeah.
So he was like, I was out somewhere. I was in Philadelphia, and I was and I was at a park, and it was this white guy and a black guy arguing, and a white guy called a black guy the N-word, whatever. So he said, all of a sudden, all these black people started coming up to him and getting ready to knock the white guy out. So he was like, y'all black people have like this unity, whereas it's like, I don't know, you don't know, but we gonna sit together because we black. You know what I'm saying?
I think we bond through struggle.
Wait.
That's
So wait,
so
he said, as a Hispanic white male, I ain't got that. He said, if I see a white guy about to fight, he said, if it's a whole bunch of white guys, there's one black dude about to get jumped. He said another black guy would join him who doesn't know him, simply because they're black, and they will get their ass beat together. He said, well, if I see a white man about to get jumped by a whole bunch of black people, I'm gonna step back and record it. He was like, you don't know him? No, I don't know him. I don't know him. Get in the paint. And I found it funny because he was like,
That's true.
he was like, fuck him, I don't know. Whereas if it was a black guy, we'd be like, oh, whoa, wait a minute, this is a brother, like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? So I found that kind of funny.
And why do you think that is, though?
Why?
Yeah.
Like you said, we bond through inherited struggle.
Right.
So,
Because honestly, I think that's the only reason I can come up with for it.
yeah, I mean, if you've been through some shit, you're going to bond.
You know what it's like to go through some shit, and you know what it's like to get through some shit. So you like, listen, he gonna need my help.
Yeah.
And even if he don't know he need my help, it's best that I just step in and help my brother right now. But I don't think that, and that's another thing, how we naturally respond to each other. My brother, my sister.
Hey, it's like a natural swagger, bro.
When white people do, hey, brother.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
No,
I don't
like when they call me brother. It feels
and
weird.
every black guy I've ever heard, they always say that.
It feels condescending. It feels like, yo, what?
Just like I mean, I have friends who, and even my father, just different little things that as a man and as a black man, you can't say to them. Like, as another grown man to grown man, you can't call my dad, like, boy.
You don't call me
You know what I mean? Like, or my brother, boy.
Hey,
like,
boy.
Or just, like, in any way, it's just, like.
It's demeaning.
Very demeaning.
Hey, boy, come here, boy.
Very demasculating. Like, it's a lot of things.
Emasculating. Shit.
And it's like, that's exactly, I feel like, the jargon and lingo they used in our most oppressive times. Like, and when I hear it, or it's just like,
Right.
Nah. So I'm glad he was able to identify that, you know, he don't got that. Yeah. And that's a gift of being black.
Yeah.
We need to use it. We need to tap into that full
I feel
throttle.
like we do sometimes. I feel like it's a lot of,
like you said, in certain spaces.
Yeah.
In certain spaces.
But,
it's the spaces we don't
I feel
really
like
need
this is
more.
a conversation I'm gonna put on hold, because I want to bring Sully back, and we're gonna have the same conversation, and we'll touch on some things. We had a similar conversation like that in episode 2 or 3 with the other Olivia, and her and him kind of got into a heated discussion, and it was a lot of tension in the room. It was a lot of like disagreement, and I feel like they could have gotten to an understanding had they had more time. But just like today, we're running out of time right now, so it's not a lot of time that we have to speak about these things. So, and
you can just go on for so long about it. I mean, we started off talking about
when they see us in prison injustice, and we kind of rolled it into like, and it's been like one pro pro-black, and I say pro-black, I don't mean anti-white. I mean just pro-black podcast, and some people may not like that, but at the end of the day, I'm black. I identify with that before I identify with anything else.
And I think that's a good way to end it off too, because I was also having this discussion recently about how pro-black gets mistaken for anti-white so quickly, and it's like being pro anything doesn't make you anti anything.
Yeah, it just makes you're for something.
Exactly.
If I'm pro basketball, don't mean I'm anti football.
And the fact that I am for being black should only make you want to be for being whatever the hell you are.
Yeah.
A little bit more. Like the fact that I'm black shouldn't offend you for being any other thing. And I think that that's something, unfortunately, that we've had with Black Lives Matter. It got so quickly and easily just, even some black people don't even take into it at all. They think it's like, not as meaningful as it could be.
I don't take into it at all because I feel like
I don't think I really did too much, but
I
don't think they were here to do bad.
Yeah, I'm not against it, but I don't feel like there's. I feel like it's too many branches on that tree.
Yeah, I think it's better off a saying than an organization.
And the tree had no foundation or no roots to begin with, so, and I feel like it just gave people an opportunity to steal from it. I.e. Blue Lives Matter, i.e. All Lives Matter. And I feel like that kind of like
allowed it to fizzle out, and the meaning of it just basically fade away.
I feel like people thought pro-black meant anti-white, and I still feel like they mean that.
I do too.
But you could be pro-Latina, and that's not a problem. You could be Latino,
anything.
You could be pro-Asian, and not matter, or pro-Philippines, or pro-Indian, or pro-Arab, pro-African. But the minute you're pro-black, oh wait.
Right.
But we can go into more of that with Malcolm X and the FBI and MLK and all that, just because they were pro-black.
Right.
But it's been a dope ass episode
as usual. But yeah, definitely.
I like this episode, and I feel like it's not enough time because I feel like I can go on about this for hours upon hours.
Yeah, this is definitely like something that could be like a series.
Yeah.
A series in itself.
Definitely gotta bring Sully back. I gotta get another female guest. I gotta get a female guest. Period.
Olivia just needs to come back too.
Yeah, but it's not probably. She won't probably be back for a while.
Yeah, that's just like the summer didn't even really start yet.
She's working and she'll be back in due time. I'm not pressing.
I just want to hear her point of views live.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to have both of y'all in here.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
Cause then it'll be a more female dominated, which I'm all for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm excited for another girl to be here with me also.
Yeah, so. But that was episode 8. You know what I'm saying? Subscribe to the channel. Eye.Juice.ent on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram. EYE.Juice.ent at Instagram. Follow, subscribe. Oh, tell people where they can find you at.
Follow me on Instagram at Lust Life Live, like my name, Liv, and definitely subscribe to the channel so y'all can get these gems.
Subscribe and then set up the notifications because you're not going to want to miss these episodes. I have not had a bad episode yet, and everybody who watches it always tells me, yo,
loves it.
That was actually really, I didn't expect that out of you. So, I mean, subscribe. That's all I can say. Kadar, as always, you know what I'm saying? We appreciate you. The best engineer I can possibly ask for.
Yeah, y'all see the setup?
You know what I'm saying? I had a hand in this too, you dig? Hey. So, also, before I go, I want to plug Premier Clothing.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Make sure you go out, cop that. Sully Bop 908, you know what I'm saying? Make sure you cop this. These are original clothing brands. These aren't like Nike. And I feel like we need to support each other more. You know what I'm saying? So, with that said, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, as
Juice.
always.
That's O. This is Raw OJ. Raw topics. Raw all the time. You did. And we out.
Yes. I didn't shed no tears.
I wasn't gonna let it get to that point. You idiot.
Proud of myself. Oh.